Some of you might not be ready for what you're about to hear, but let me tell you this: you don't want to click away from this video. What I'm about to share is shocking, heartbreaking, and unforgettable. Martell Holt, once seen as half of a power couple on Love and Marriage, Huntsville, has now faced one of the most devastating blows any parent could ever experience. After years of messy breakups, public fights, and endless court battles, the latest court ruling has left him standing on the losing side of the one thing he claimed to care about most: his children. Yes, you heard me right. Martell Holt has lost his kids. And the way it all unfolded in court will leave you speechless. This isn't just a story about custody papers or judges making decisions. This is about love, betrayal, ego, control, and the kind of consequences that come when pride gets in the way of peace. So stay with me until the very end, because the truth about what went down in court, and how it has already changed Martell's life forever, is something you won't forget. For those who don't know, Martell Holt's story didn't begin in a courtroom. It began with a dream, a love story, and a picture-perfect family. Martell and Melody Sherry were once the couple that so many people admired. They had 4 beautiful children together, they built businesses side by side, and they even shared their journey with the world on OWN's hit reality show. To fans, they looked unstoppable, attractive, successful, and deeply connected. They were supposed to be the example of black love, partnership, and ambition. But behind the scenes, cracks were already forming. Martell's charm came with an ego, and his ambition came with a dangerous weakness for temptation. And it wasn't long before whispers of infidelity started turning into full-blown scandals. Melody, who once trusted him with everything, discovered the kind of betrayal that cuts deeper than words. Martell wasn't just unfaithful, he carried on a long-term affair that would eventually destroy the very foundation of their marriage. When the truth finally came out, the betrayal wasn't just personal, it was public. Their marriage unraveled in front of the cameras, and every fight, every tear, every broken promise became part of the reality TV storyline. For Melody, it was a humiliation she never asked for. For Martell, it was the beginning of a spiral that would drag him into battles far beyond a divorce. Because once the marriage ended, another war began, a war over their 4 children. Now, custody battles are never simple. They're emotional, painful, and exhausting. But when pride gets in the way, they become brutal. Martell didn't just want time with his kids, he wanted control. He wanted to be seen as the strong father who wouldn't back down. But what he failed to see was that every move he made was being watched. Every outburst, every threatening message, every failure to follow the court's orders was adding up. Judges don't care about who has the loudest voice on social media. They care about patterns. And Martell's pattern was clear: anger, defiance, and a refusal to take responsibility. It all reached a boiling point in court when the judge finally had to step in and make the kind of decision that would alter Martell's life forever. After reviewing years of drama, multiple probation violations, and his repeated harassment of Melody, the court ruled against him. For Martell, the fight was officially over. He lost primary custody of his children. And let's be very clear, this wasn't just a small adjustment. This ruling meant that Martell could no longer see his children freely the way he once did. His time became restricted, supervised in certain cases, and dictated by a court schedule instead of his own. But here's the twist. Martell didn't see this as a consequence of his own actions. He saw it as an attack. Instead of accepting the decision, he tried to spin the narrative, posting on social media about being a father who was unfairly judged, a man who only wanted to be with his kids. But the truth is, the evidence told a different story. Judges don't strip a parent of custody lightly. They only do it when they believe the children's emotional and physical well-being is at risk. And in Martell's case, his history of harassment, threats, and refusal to follow court orders made it clear his pride was a bigger priority than his children's peace. Fans couldn't ignore it anymore. Some once believed Martell's words, thought he was just a dad fighting for his rights. But as more court documents surfaced, as more details came out, the picture became undeniable. Martell didn't lose his kids because of one mistake. He lost them because of a consistent pattern of behavior that put himself before his family. And imagine the emotional impact. For Melody, this ruling was both heartbreaking and relieving. She had carried the weight of protecting her children for years while also dealing with Martell's constant attacks. Finally, the court validated what she had been saying all along, that stability and safety mattered more than ego and image. For the kids, though, the damage is harder to measure. They love their father. They want him in their lives. But they also see the chaos, the fights, the tension that comes every time their parents are in the same room. Children may not understand court documents, but they feel the truth in their hearts. And for Martell? This loss cuts deeper than any divorce or business failure. Because losing custody of your children is not just a legal blow, it's a personal devastation. The very people he claimed to fight for, he has now been forced to see on limited terms. His role as a father has been reshaped by his own actions, and the world is watching as the mask of control slips away. The question now is, what happens next? Can Martell truly change, or will he keep repeating the same patterns that got him here? Can he put aside his pride and finally put his children first? Or will this loss push him into even more denial and destruction? What nobody expected was that the same man who once built a family empire with Melody would be left standing alone, fighting battles that he cannot win, while the world watches his downfall play out in real time. Martell Holt losing his kids isn't just a court decision. It's a reminder of what happens when betrayal, ego, and pride take the place of love, responsibility, and peace. It's a tragedy that didn't have to happen, but one that was written step by Martell's own choices. And as painful as it is to say, sometimes the biggest loss a man can face isn't money, fame, or reputation, it's losing the trust and closeness of his own children. So now I ask you, what do you think? Is Martell Holt a victim of a system stacked against fathers? Or has he finally faced the consequences of years of selfish decisions? One thing's for sure, the story of Martell and Melody isn't over. But the chapter that just closed is one that will haunt Martell Holt for the rest of his life. When the gavel came down and the judge read the decision, there was a heavy silence in that courtroom. Martell Holt, the man who once strutted with confidence, the man who used to hold his children up on screen like trophies of fatherhood, suddenly looked small. This wasn't just about losing custody, it was about losing the very identity he built for himself. He had spent years telling anyone who would listen that he was a devoted father, a man who would do anything for his kids. But now, with one ruling, the court had decided that his children were safer, calmer, and better off under Melody's care. And let's be clear, this wasn't a sudden decision. It wasn't like the court woke up one day and said, "Let's take Martell's kids away." No, this was the result of years of warnings, years of orders, and years of Martell choosing his pride over progress. The judge gave him chance after chance. He was told to take classes, attend counseling, control his temper, and learn healthier ways to co-parent. But Martell didn't follow through. Instead, he fought Melody at every turn, appealed decisions just to drag out the pain, and refused to accept accountability. What nobody expected was that the very strategy Martell thought would save him, fighting harder, appealing longer, refusing to back down, was actually the very thing that destroyed him. Because the judge didn't just see a man fighting for his kids. The judge saw a man obsessed with control. A man who used the legal system not to co-parent but to punish. A man who thought he could outsmart the system, when in reality, he was digging his own grave. And the emotional toll? It's hard to even put into words. Melody walked out of that courtroom with tears in her eyes, not tears of victory, but tears of exhaustion. Imagine what it's like to fight for years just to keep peace for your children. Imagine having to prove again and again that you're the stable parent, the safe parent, the one who puts the kids first, while your ex drags you through hearings and headlines just to stroke his ego. For Melody, this wasn't just about winning. It was about survival. And for the first time, she had the court fully behind her, validating everything she had endured. But the real heartbreak lies with the children. Because children don't ask for any of this. They don't ask to be in the middle of custody battles. They don't ask to see their parents fight on TV, in court, or on social media. They just want love. They just want peace. And now, they have to process the reality that their time with their father will never be the same. Visits will be scheduled, monitored, and limited. And no matter how much they love him, they will always remember the day a judge said, "This is what's best for you." For Martell, the public humiliation was just the surface. Inside, he's wrestling with something much bigger. How do you go from being the man of the house, the father with 4 children under his roof, to a man who has to ask for permission to see them? How do you explain to the world that the children you bragged about, the children you claimed were your entire reason for fighting, are no longer within your reach the way they used to be? That's not just a legal loss, it's a spiritual one. It cuts into your pride, your image, and your soul. But here's the painful truth: Martell did this to himself. The late-night rants, the threatening messages to Melody, the refusal to respect boundaries, all of it was recorded, documented, and presented in court. The judge didn't rely on rumors or reality TV editing. The judge relied on evidence. And when that evidence stacked up, there was no way to deny it. Martell wasn't just a passionate father, he was a reckless one. And in custody battles, recklessness has consequences. Think about the irony here. Martell once had it all. He had Melody by his side, 4 healthy children, a beautiful home, and a thriving business. Fans looked at him and saw a man who was living the dream. But little by little, choice by choice, he tore it all down. The affair that humiliated Melody wasn't just about romance, it was the first domino in a chain of destruction. His temper, his pride, his refusal to let go, they all became bricks in the wall that now separates him from his kids. What's even more shocking is how public all of this has been. Most families who go through custody battles do so in private, shielded from the cameras. But Martell and Melody's story has played out in front of millions. Every fight, every court date, every new headline has been consumed by fans and critics alike. And now, Martell's loss isn't just private pain, it's public shame. People are tweeting about it, making videos about it, dissecting every move. For a man who loves the spotlight, this might be the harshest punishment of all, having to face his downfall in front of the same audience that once cheered for him. But here's where it gets deeper. Losing custody isn't just about today. It's about tomorrow. It's about birthdays he may not get to attend freely. It's about school events where he might have to sit in the back, supervised, instead of being front and center. It's about missing the small, everyday moments, the homework help, the late-night talks, the inside jokes that build a parent-child bond. These are the moments Martell has lost. And no amount of social media posts or public statements can bring them back. Now, some fans might still ask, can he come back from this? Can Martell redeem himself, change his ways, and rebuild a relationship with his kids? The truth is, it's possible, but only if he finally does something he has never been good at, humbling himself. The courts have spoken. The pattern is clear. The only way forward is for Martell to accept responsibility, to follow the orders he's been given, and to show through actions, not words, that he can be a safe, stable presence in his children's lives. But will he? That's the question that hangs in the air. Because if history has shown us anything, it's that Martell struggles with change. He loves the fight more than the peace. He loves the control more than the compromise. And if he doesn't learn to let go of that, this loss may not just be temporary, it may be permanent. For Melody, this ruling is a bittersweet victory. She has fought for her children's safety and stability, and she has won. But victories in family court don't erase the pain. They don't erase the years of drama, the sleepless nights, the fear of what might happen next. She will still carry the scars of this battle. But she will also carry the strength of knowing she did what needed to be done for her children. And for the fans, this is a cautionary tale. It's a reminder that behind the glitz of reality TV, behind the carefully curated Instagram posts, there are real families, real children, and real consequences. Martell's story isn't just entertainment, it's a warning. A warning about what happens when pride replaces love, when ego replaces accountability, and when a man forgets that being a father is about sacrifice, not control. So as we close this chapter, I want you to think about this. Martell Holt didn't lose his kids in one day. He lost them little by little, choice by choice, decision by decision. And in the end, the court simply confirmed what his actions had already written. This isn't the end of his story, but it is the end of an era. An era where Martell thought he could have it all: his kids, his image, his pride without ever changing himself. Now, he has a choice. He can keep fighting, keep appealing, keep dragging his family through the mud, or he can finally do the hard work of healing, apologizing, and rebuilding. The question is, which path will he choose? And more importantly, will it be enough to repair the damage that has already been done?